weekend, Elon Musk, the wealthiest man in the world, went on Twitter and accused the president of being a pedophile. Kanye West tweeted out, "Bros, please, no, we love you both so much." Steve Bannon said that Trump should deport Elon Musk because he's an illegal immigrant, and also said he was an agent of the Chinese Communist Party. He also said that Donald Trump should nationalize SpaceX. Donald Trump seemed restrained by comparison to all of this, and Kash Patel, the director of the FBI, was on Joe Rogan, being interviewed by Joe Rogan at the exact moment that Elon Musk's pedophile tweet hit the internet. So, as somebody who makes content where my whole premise is I look at what powerful people are saying and I ask, what the fuck are they talking about? It was Christmas morning. It's been just a cornucopia of riches for YouTubers, Democrats, frankly, even Republicans. I mean, this was the best weekend on Twitter in a long time. But I will say, when I saw Elon's tweet come through, the infamous tweet that he has now deleted, we should say, the tweet in which he says that Donald Trump is in the Epstein Files, I think most people assumed it was bullshit. I thought Elon Musk was crashing out from drugs, angry, stirring the pot, and saying the most outrageous thing he could think to say. And then I heard a journalist say that they had definitively seen and they described very specific photographs that Jeffrey Epstein had on Donald Trump. And suddenly my entire opinion changed. So that is what we are talking about today. My name is Carly Riley. This is the Carly P. Riley Show. I look at what powerful people are saying and I ask, what the fuck are they talking about? If that sounds interesting to you, would love to have you subscribe to the channel or share this video if you get some value out of it. Comment below, would love to hear what you think. Now look, you have likely seen Donald Trump doing the white man's overbite and then turning to whisper sweet nothings into Jeffrey Epstein's ear as they ogle women who are dancing. This video was taken in 1992. But again, this, it turns out, is potentially just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the Trump-Epstein relationship. Let's run through this very briefly. Epstein and Trump supposedly met in the 1980s. We don't know the exact origin of their relationship, but they were powerful men running in the same circles. And by the 1990s, it is possible these men were very close. Here is audio footage of Jeffrey Epstein talking to the journalist Michael Wolff, who will be important and we will continue to talk about, saying that he was one of Donald Trump's closest friends for 10 years.
So how do you know this?
I was Donald's closest friend for 10 years. I know that audio is quiet, it's kind of hard to hear, but that is Epstein saying, I was Donald's closest friend for 10 years. This is part of a broader interview that Michael Wolff released within the last few years. It's very hard to understand and follow most of the audio. It seems to be Epstein talking about Trump and women and escapades, but like you can't really make sense of it. Okay, so in 1992, they're hanging out. They also this year apparently host a fake beauty competition in which they get a fellow Florida businessman to bring in 28 women for a calendar girl shoot that ends up just being in front of Trump and Epstein. This is reported by The Telegraph, and then Michael Wolff also describes this. Here is Michael Wolff's telling of it.
They famously staged a beauty contest in Mar-a-Lago, and they imported all these girls who thought they were, I don't know.
Well, who thought they were probably going to win a beauty competition.
Exactly. And when the girls got there, they found that there was the audience and the judges consisted of two men, Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump. So this is what they did.
Charming. Now, Michael Wolff, that same journalist who, again, we're going to talk about, he elaborates himself on just how close this relationship between Trump and Epstein apparently was.
They were best friends for 15 years. This was a close relationship. They shared a girlfriend. There was about a period for about a year that literally they shared a girlfriend.
That is a close relationship, if true. So look, this is coming from Michael Wolff. He is a journalist. He wrote the book, The Fire and Fury, about Donald Trump's first term. And for years, there have been people from the right and the left who have cast doubts on the things he has reported on, who have denied quotes he has attributed to them, including people like Anna Wintour, not people who he is necessarily bashing in any capacity. Michael Wolff also himself seemed to run in some of these circles in maybe the late 90s, early 2000s. And in 2004, when New York Magazine was being sold by its parent company, Michael Wolff got a group of investors to back him to make a play at buying New York Magazine. And of the investors he got to back him included Harvey Weinstein and Jeffrey Epstein. So his judge of character is clearly questionable. And you could say on the one hand, this makes him all the more credible because he clearly has had access to these people for many decades. And therefore it makes sense that some of them would open up to him in a way that they probably wouldn't to an ordinary journalist, which gives him more credibility in what he's reporting on. Or you could argue, does this give him less credibility? I mean, he was friends with these guys. He may have picked up their penchant for hyperbole or outright lying in order to create better marketing for his book projects, for example. So Michael Wolff himself, a somewhat complicated figure, and yet he comes forth with the most damning piece of evidence against Donald Trump. But before I get there, and we will talk about that, I want to back up one more time and just say, let's talk about the Epstein Files themselves. The Epstein Files are no one particular thing. We already have the flight logs from Jeffrey Epstein's plane, and this is connected to one of the bigger scandals, I would say, that the Trump administration has had within their own base so far in this second presidency of theirs. If you remember, Donald Trump said, oh, we're going to release the Epstein Files day one immediately with the JFK files, everything. And then back in February, Pam Bondi, Trump's attorney general, told Fox News that she was going to release Epstein's client list.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients? Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump.
Oh, that's been a directive by President Trump to release Epstein's client list. And then what happened? Well, actually, all they did was release the flight logs we all already had to a bunch of conservative influencers who held them up with binders for a photo op outside the White House. Wah, wah. Now, again, this was actually a scandal even in Trump world, and you had Pam Bondi blaming FBI Director Kash Patel for not giving her all of the information. Kash Patel then blamed the New York Bureau of the FBI. There was other reporting saying that the New York Bureau was maybe purging other documents because the New York Bureau has been a thorn in Donald Trump's side for a long time. Bottom line is, we've still got nothing new from the Trump White House about the Epstein Files or his client list. Now, in an unbelievably ironic twist, FBI Director Kash Patel was on Joe Rogan, was being interviewed by Joe Rogan at the exact moment that Elon Musk tweeted that Donald Trump is in the Epstein Files.
Time to drop the really big bomb. Donald Trump is in the Epstein Files. That's the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day. Jesus Christ.
I'm not participating in any of that conversation
What
between
is he?
Elon
Have
and
a
Trump.
nice day, DJD. Someone should take his phone away.
They're going back and forth about different things. And
Yeah. Listen,
Well, he said he was disappointed in Elon.
yeah,
Yeah.
they told him to leave.
Jesus Christ, that's a crazy thing to say. How does he know? Does he know that Donald Trump is in the Epstein Files? Or does he have access to the Epstein Files?
I don't know how he would, but I'm just staying out of the Trump Elon thing. That's way outside
What
my
the
lane.
fuck are they doing?
You know, it's bad when Joe Rogan's like, somebody take his phone away. Now, what's interesting about that is I've watched the whole interview, and this moment came like 10 minutes, maybe 20 minutes after Joe and Kash had a long conversation about the Epstein Files. Kash makes it very clear that any information that the FBI has about the Epstein Files will be released to the public. He says, we will give you everything. However, he also seems to imply that there's really not that much there to release.
Do you think that myself, Bongino, and others would participate in hiding information about Epstein's grotesque activities? Or do you think we would also participate in not prosecuting people we had evidence to prosecute people on? But the problem is there's been like 15 years of people coming in and creating fictions about this that doesn't exist. Where's the videotape of an Epstein Island of X, Y, and Z committing these frauds? Why haven't you given it to us? Do you really think I wouldn't give that to you if it existed?
Maybe. To be honest, if Trump was implicated in them, yeah, maybe. I do think you might not give them to me. But look, I'm actually inclined to assume that what he's saying is true, which is that the FBI doesn't have this footage because if the FBI had this footage, and this has been the right-wing talking point, you would assume that Democrats would have released damning footage of Trump. Now, Kash basically seems to imply that the juiciest thing we're going to get out of what he and the FBI will release is footage of Epstein's jail cell proving that he committed suicide and was not murdered.
We've reviewed all the information, and the American public is going to get as much as we can release. He killed himself.
And Joe, again, ever the conspiracy theorist, is clearly not entirely satisfied by this and really pushes back, going like, we were told that video footage around Epstein's jail cell had been deleted.
But we were told that the cameras were down.
Well, I don't know who said that.
But that was in the news.
We're giving you all the footage we have.
So why wasn't that released like immediately? Why did this speculation escalate?
I think you'd have to ask whoever the attorney general back then was, Bill Barr.
I know Joe Rogan gets crap for like, we're just bros asking questions. I'm glad he's asking these questions. Like, this is Joe asking questions at his best.
Soon after Epstein's death in August, 2 CCTV cameras outside his cell had malfunctioned and were being examined by the FBI.
I'm not saying every single camera in the place was working. I'm saying we've got footage and you're getting it.
So
Just to give
you
the
became
information.
aware of this footage recently?
The ones that we're looking at, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, but this is like an article from quite a while ago that was saying that the footage was mistakenly erased.
Look, I mean, goes back to the same. Ask the people that were in power then. I mean, I get it that you want to hold me to account for their actions, and
No, I'm not
you,
saying,
not you.
I'm not saying that.
Not you. Just the public in general, and that's okay.
I mean, yeah, the public would like to know why video footage that supposedly was erased and didn't exist and wasn't released many years ago now suddenly does apparently exist, and you have it. And conveniently, it's footage that would seem to suggest, hey, there's nothing more to see here. Epstein killed himself. Nice, done, and complete. I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist on this. I'm just asking questions. So look, apparently all the FBI has is footage that proves Jeffrey Epstein killed himself, and there's no actually compromising materials on anybody. This is a very disappointing outcome for Epstein conspiracy theorists. But I say that, and yet it's not even really just conspiracy theorists, because what does seem to be confirmed as true by authorities and the media and across the board is that Jeffrey Epstein was a man who blackmailed many rich and powerful people by having compromising materials on them. So one way or another, this compromising material has apparently disappeared. That is quite convenient. And this brings us back to Michael Wolff, who is the only person I have ever heard describe specific images that implicate somebody in Jeffrey Epstein's situation.
Listen, I have seen these pictures. I know that these pictures exist, and I can describe them. There are about a dozen of them. The ones I specifically remember is two of them with topless girls of an uncertain age sitting on Trump's lap, and then Trump standing there with a stain on the front of his pants, and 3 or 4 girls kind of bent over in laughter. They're topless too, pointing at Trump's pants.
I mean, I have literally never heard anyone describe specific compromising material that they know that Epstein had until now. And it's almost surprising to me that this hasn't gotten more play on Twitter compared to the other things that have gotten play. And I get that the other things are clear video footage, things you can see with your own eyes, whereas this is a he said, she said. This is just one journalist's word. And while, again, it seems unlikely that the FBI had this information and didn't release it under the Biden administration, it also is odd to me that Kash Patel is saying they now suddenly have footage of a jail cell proving that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself when we supposedly never had that in the past either. This whole thing is shrouded in so much murk. It seems hard to believe that the relationship between Trump and Epstein was not actually deeper and closer than we have been led to believe up to this point. And that this whole thing isn't really a byproduct of the exact distortion field that the power and money of people like Trump and Musk very intentionally create. I don't know if Elon was on drugs, crashing out, angrily tweeting the most salacious thing he could think of, but it was something he has no actual knowledge of, or if he was crashing out, lashing out, and in fact tweeting something he does have firsthand knowledge of. If Trump knew the depth of Jeffrey Epstein's depravity or had no idea and simply liked hitting on early 20s girls with him. It's not just that we don't know the truth, it's that these are people who make the truth unknowable. They don't just evade accountability. Again, in either direction, if this isn't true of Trump, then Elon should be held accountable. If this is true of Trump, then Trump should be held accountable, but neither will happen because they destabilize our ability to even recognize reality. I mean, it's truly impressive, although depressing. And that's, of course, what's so off about this whole thing. It's not just the allegation itself. It's that we will likely never have closure on any part of this situation, which is the world that men like Elon and Trump and to some degree Epstein have designed. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, I would love if you would consider sharing it with somebody else who you think might enjoy it, or subscribing to the channel.